I call to order the Riverview Board of Education, a school district regular meeting for February 28th, 2023. Secretary Walker, roll call, please.
President Bohr.
Here.
Vice President Dominski.
Here.
Secretary Walker here. Treasurer Davis.
Here.
Trustee Meeks.
Here.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here.
Trustee Toth.
Here.
We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, we'll go to guest and visitor comments for the 2-minute session. The purpose of the public participation portion of the meeting is to provide an opportunity for the citizens to share their thoughts with the board. Personal concerns are best handled through the proper channels. Questions requiring investigation will be referred to the superintendent for consideration. Are there any guest and visitor comments for the 2-minute session? Seeing none, we'll move on to item A13, acceptance of agenda. Do I have a motion?
President Bohr.
Trustee Toth.
Be it resolved, the Riverview Board of Education accepts the agenda for the February 28th, 2023 regular meeting.
Motion by Trustee Toth. Do I have support?
Support.
Supported by Vice President Dominski. Any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary Walker, roll call, please.
Vice President Dominski.
Yes.
Secretary Walker, yes. Treasurer Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Meeks.
Yes.
Trustee O'Brien.
Yes.
Trustee Toth.
Yes.
President Bohr.
Yes. Next, we'll move on to item A14, consent grouping. I will make the motion myself. Be it resolved, the Riverview Board of Education accepts the minutes of the January 23rd, 2023 organizational meeting, the minutes of the January 24th, 2023 regular meeting, approves the check registers and purchase card expense reports, approves the updated continuity of learning plan, approves the amended 23-24 school year School of Choice Riverview Virtual Academy grade levels, approves the cosmetology course Chicago Beauty Show trip, approves the RCHS Cooking Club trip to Ohio, and approve Vice President Dominski's appointment as the Riverview Board of Education liaison to the City of Riverview City Council, as all contained in the consent grouping. Do I have support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Meeks. Any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary Walker, roll call, please.
Secretary Walker, yes. Treasurer Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Meeks.
Yes.
Trustee O'Brien.
Yes.
Trustee Toth.
Yes.
President Bohr.
Yes.
Vice President Dominski.
Yes.
Next, we'll move on to board updates. Ellie Kulik, our RCHS student liaison, will be up first.
Thank you. It seems after our very long week of snow days, bad road days, no power days, that the month of February hasn't been very active. But most of our winter sports are wrapping up their seasons in the coming weeks, which will make way for spring sports in the third trimester. We'll be having final exams next week on March 9th and 10th. The Riverview Hall of Fame banquet will also be held on March 10th. Many of our students will be honored, and some seniors will be presented with college scholarships. Please mark your calendars for the Drama Club's rendition of Mamma Mia from March 16th to 18th. Finally, settle your vacation plans for spring break, which will be the last week of March.
Well, thank you, Ellie, for the update. Next, we'll have administrative comments, legislative reports with Superintendent Hatzel.
All right, thank you, Ellie, also, and you are excused. She's working a swim meet tonight, so she's got to get back. She blessed us with a few minutes, so thank you. Legislatively, there's lots of bills being sent out of committee that will directly affect us and pertain to education. As Ellie alluded to, we're watching them closely, but a lot of them were set back last week by the ice storm, so they didn't get voted on. in the House or Senate, so we should have some quite a bit of news to report in March legislatively. Locally, we continue to strengthen our partnership with the Riverview Police Department. We've had several events around student safety and school safety, and continue to increase our communication with them, so that's been very beneficial. Obviously, hopefully, we won't need that services, but we're trying to be as prepared as possible. In conjunction with that, later on in the new business, we've got some very important security upgrades on the agenda, which also will strengthen our footprint in keeping our kids as safe as we possibly can. So some good things happening there. While I'm at it, I want to thank the maintenance team and Mr. Kennedy and his crew for keeping the buildings up during some of those power outages and having to scramble with generators and finding diesel fuel and whatnot to make sure that we didn't get frozen pipes or any major mechanical failures over the last week with all the weather, and proved to be more difficult than usual because of so many widespread power outages. Some of those resources were hard to get, so kudos to them for that. Also, I want all the levels to, especially families, to be on the lookout. We're starting to stand up our after-school and before-school tutoring programs and starting to plan our summer enrichment programs, so keep an eye out for those things as well. Tomorrow night, we have a big night at the high school. It's the 9th grade student orientation. That's tomorrow night, March 1st. We want to welcome all incoming 9th grade students, both residents and school of choice, to come check out what we have to offer at Riverview High School, in my humble opinion, the best high school around. On the other end of the spectrum, the following week, Wednesday, March 8th, we have Kindergarten Roundup. We're going to have a new format this year. We want to welcome all incoming kindergarten families to Seats Middle School. We'll have an event at Seats Auditorium at 6 p.m. Wednesday, March 8th. After the welcome, we will then invite you to take a tour of some of our schools afterward that same evening. And all these things can be found on our website, riverviewschools.com, to get more information. As Ellie mentioned, next Friday, March 10th, is our Hall of Fame banquet. We're finalizing the plans now. Come out and support both another Riverview City and school function. On the school side, 14 RCHS seniors will be honored at the event, along with 12 current staff members and several retirees as well from the Riverview Community School District. Tickets are available through this Friday, March 3rd, and you can get those at Arnaldo's Banquet Hall or the Riverview High School Counseling Office. At the elementary school, Memorial Elementary School, this Thursday night, March 2nd, from 5 to 7, they have a really fun math and science night planned for the families and kids. It will be partly hosted by the Detroit Science Center, and they have some really cool STEM stations there. So if you're around this Thursday, head over to Memorial. Ellie already mentioned the drama play is March 16th, 17th, 18th. They're doing Mamma Mia at the high school, and we are, believe it or not, already at the end of the second trimester, March 10th. And elementary school conferences are Thursday, March 16th. I was able to attend both seats in the high school conferences already, so that next batch of conferences for our elementary parents. That's all I have. Thank you, President Board.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Hatzel. We'll move on to new business, item A15, award district exterior access control system and video intercom system upgrades, Presidio Technology Solutions. Superintendent Hatzel, background, please.
All right, here. Do I have the, I don't have the. I think I can make it happen here. At the recommendation of Mr. Kennedy, Head of Grounds and Maintenance, and Mr. Draper, Head of Business and Finance. They request that the Riverview School District purchases district exterior access control system for a sum not to exceed $39,611.84, and the video intercom systems upgrade for a sum not to exceed $18,636.79 to Presido Technology Solutions for a total sum not to exceed $58,248.63.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Hatzel. Do I have a motion?
President Bohr,
Trustee Meeks.
be it resolved, the Riverview Board of Education awards the district exterior access control system for a sum not to exceed $39,611.84, and the video intercom system upgrades for a sum not to exceed $18,636.79 to Presido Technology Solutions for a total sum not to exceed $58,248.63.
Motion by Trustee Meeks. Do we have support?
Support.
Supported by Treasurer Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none. Secretary Walker, roll call, please.
Treasurer Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Meeks.
Yes.
Trustee O'Brien.
Yes.
Trustee Toth.
Yes.
President Bohr.
Yes.
Vice President Dominski.
Yes.
Secretary Walker, yes.
Next, we'll move on to item A16, award district critical incident mapping contract for critical response group. Superintendent Hatzel, background, please.
In an effort to upgrade and improve our existing building emergency maps, we reviewed several proposals and have received input from the Riverview Police Chief, John Allen. The mapping solutions reviewed were remarkably similar. However, there was only one solution that integrates with the Riverview Police Department Rapid SOS dispatch system. This was the system recommended by Chief Allen because it will improve the accuracy for dispatching first responders to a specific section of the building to allow for faster response time. The new maps will also show evacuation routes, reunification locations, and locations of emergency equipment and supplies. The supporting documents and quote are attached. After reviewing the quote is the recommendation of the Director of Finance, Lonnie Draper, and myself, Gary Kennedy, that the critical response group be awarded to the project for the sum not to exceed $19,878. This mapping project will be fully funded by a grant from MDE by the Critical Incident Mapping Program.
Thank you, Superintendent Hatzel. Do I have a motion?
President Board,
Vice President Dominski.
be resolved, the Riverview Board of Education awards the district critical incident mapping contract to the critical response group for a sum not to exceed $19,878.
Motion by Vice President Dominski. Do we have support?
Support.
Supported by Treasurer Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none. Secretary Walker, roll call, please.
Trustee Meeks.
Yes.
Trustee O'Brien.
Yes.
Trustee Toth.
Yes.
President Bohr.
Yes.
Vice President Dominski.
Yes.
Secretary Walker, yes. Treasurer Davis.
Yes.
Next, we'll move on to guest and visitor comments for the 5-minute session. Are there any guests and visitors with any comments for the 5-minute session?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Moss. I am a resident of Riverview. I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. My first comment had to do with what I mentioned last month about the rankings. I did leave out a couple of rankings accidentally, which I'll cover right now. Within the county, Riverview finished 14th. The only area schools that were ahead of it were Woodhaven, which finished 8th, Grosse Ile at 10, and Allen Park at 13. And then within the county, when you factor in all of the schools, Riverview actually came in one spot ahead of Allen Park, so kind of even that out a bit. The other thing that came to my mind because of the last city council meeting is that a city council member, and that would be Councilmember Workman, mentioned how his neighbor had passed away and thus that rats had entered the garage in that. And since I believe he is not that far from the high school, but I'm not sure exactly how close he is, it may be prudent for anybody who's listening or who will listen to this to be careful of that, because Mayor Swift did not mention how the problem has been eradicated. It doesn't mean it hasn't been eradicated, but he didn't say one way or the other, and I intend on asking him at the next city council meeting if that problem has in fact been eradicated. So I don't want any students to get bitten or anything anything like that. Rats are not a pleasant thing to deal with. I've had to deal with them in my lifetime, so I know what I'm talking about there. Then a couple of questions I had pertain to Proposal 3, which was passed in November and then implemented around Christmas time. It has to do with women's right to abortion, but there were a couple other things that a lot of people have not been privy to that I've educated them, especially in this city, but it's not limited to just this city. And that is, from my understanding, and I'm not an attorney, that two of the things are that children as young as 10 years old can get their gender changed or could be sterilized without parental consent. Two hypotheticals that came to my mind were, if there were a group of males and you have one that's a loner, one's trying to fit in with the rest of them, and the leader says, "Johnny, you're a little girly man. Why don't you go get a sex change operation?" Then the other one, which is not an indictment on the teachers or administration by any way, but we are all human and it could happen, would be if Julie overhears a teacher saying to somebody, "I think she ought to get sterilized." Then they both end up going back home. They're confused most likely, and now there are bigger issues. The reason I'm bringing this up is not to create mass hysteria or perhaps feed into it, because there seemed to be a lot of it at the time on social media, and that would be at the time of the vote. But my questions are, what has this board or what have the schools done to either educate the students and the parents about this, or what have they implemented that's going to keep people from just rushing out and getting this done, let's say. The other thing is, what is in the pipeline that hasn't been done that may very well be presented in the future? I think I'll leave it at that. Hopefully that's clear enough. That I'm not trying to infringe on anything, but a lot of parents seem to be in the dark, and I don't want a lot of parents pulling their kids out of school, not just in Riverview, but throughout the state, since this is a state issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Any guest and visitor comments for the 5-minute session? Hearing none, we'll move on to items for discussion presented by board members concerning which no action can be taken.
President Board?
Vice President Dominski.
I'd like to thank all my fellow board members for once again showing their confidence in me to serve as liaison to the city council. So thank you guys for that.
I too would like to thank Vice President Dominski for volunteering for that position. It's really key, as we know now, very important for schools and the city to work together. As you can see, one important aspect is working well with our police for the safety and security for our children and staff. Vice President Dominski has a pretty good working relationship with a couple of the council members, and he's well known throughout the community, and I recognize that in asking him to serve that role, and he immediately said yes. So thank you, Vice President Dominski. I also want to thank Superintendent Hatzel, the administration, Ms. Carl and Ms. Ekman in the central office for all of their diligent hard work during our 3-day weather situation last week. And as Mr. Hatzel said, I want to thank Mr. Kennedy's team also. When buildings lose power, when they shut down, the HVAC systems, the boilers, when everything slows to a stop, it's a very tenable situation. And Mr. Kennedy and his teams, like you said, got the generators going and assessed things for damage, the trees, the roofs, and really for the administration, there were some 4 a.m. meetings that they had to be on alert for, and it really was 24/7. It's a 24/7 job for a superintendent every regular day, and especially it's walking a tightrope during a 3-day stretch like that. So thank you, Superintendent Hatzel. And I also want to thank the Hall of Fame team for the upcoming March 10th Hall of Fame event. I know Mrs. Zellner, Mr. Kyer, Mr. Perry, Superintendent Hatzel is part of that group for the Hall of Fame committee, supports the work of fundraising and providing scholarships for our kids that are excelling. And they recognize that achievement at the Hall of Fame banquet. I want to thank them for that work. They also pulled together the Pirate Pride of our school district and the Pirate Pride of our city together. Our city civic leaders are honored. I understand Allen Trophy, Mr. Steve Allen is going to be honored for Business of the Year. The Hall of Fame committee also recognizes our staff with awards for their diligent work throughout the year. So I just want to say again, Ellie mentioned it earlier, March 10th at Arnaldo's. I believe tickets are still available. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll need a motion to adjourn.
President Boer,
Trustee Toth.
I motion to adjourn.
Motion by Trustee Toth to adjourn. Do we have support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Meeks. Secretary Walker, roll call, please.
President Boer,
Yes.
Vice President Dominski.
Yes.
Secretary Walker, yes. Treasurer Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Meeks.
Yes.
Trustee O'Brien.
Yes.
Trustee Toth.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 7:23. Thank you, everyone.